The cameras were rolling, the studio lights glaring like spotlights on a stage of destiny. Gavin Newsom sat rigidly behind the desk, his polished smile faltering for just a fraction of a second. Across from him, Mel Gibson leaned forward, eyes sharp, a predator's focus softened only by the weight of truth. Beside him, Tyrus, towering and calm, prepared to speak with a gravitas that could silence a room. What no one anticipated was that this confrontation, meant to be a televised debate, would become an unmasking, an eruption that would echo far beyond the walls of the studio. It started subtly, a single pointed question from Gibson about leadership accountability. Newsom attempted his usual rehearsed charm, the practiced rhythm of speeches and slogans. But then Tyrus, with the authority of someone who had seen injustice up close, pressed on, exposing contradictions in policy and behavior that Newsom could not simply talk around. The tension was palpable, as though the very air had thickened. Newsom's hands clenched the edges of the desk, knuckles whitening, while the audience felt the unsteady heartbeat of a man cornered. For Newsom, this was more than a public confrontation, it was a personal crucible. He had risen through the ranks with confidence and conviction, yet here were two voices shattering the image he had so carefully constructed. Memories flashed in his mind, campaign nights filled with cheers, speeches delivered under the glare of cameras, promises made with the best of intentions. Yet, in this moment, he realized that leadership was never just about perception, it was about truth, transparency, and the courage to face criticism head-on. As Gibson pressed on, his voice firm but not unkind, the cracks began to show. Newsom's composure wavered, a hint of vulnerability breaking through the veneer. He had spent decades learning to deflect, to redirect, to smile through pressure. But this was different, this was raw accountability, and for the first time, he could feel the weight of genuine scrutiny. Tyrus, standing tall, added perspective that was impossible to ignore, narrating real stories of people affected by policy decisions, families struggling, communities waiting for change. The images in his words hit hard, leaving Newsom momentarily speechless. And then came the eruption. Not of anger alone, but of emotion, frustration, and a profound sense of reckoning. Newsom spoke, not with rehearsed eloquence, but with honesty, acknowledging mistakes, admitting oversights, and revealing the human side often hidden behind political facades. It was messy, uncomfortable, yet undeniably real. The audience leaned in, captivated by a politician showing not just power, but humility and the raw courage it takes to face one's flaws under a national spotlight. Behind the cameras, advisors whispered, worried about optics, about political fallout. Yet the truth was undeniable. Sometimes, confrontation strips away the armor and leaves only authenticity. Newsom, breathing deeply, addressed the criticisms with clarity and empathy, vowing to rebuild trust, to take tangible steps to correct course. It was a pivotal moment, not just for him, but for every citizen watching, reminded that leadership is not infallibility but the willingness to rise after faltering. By the end of the broadcast, the tension had shifted into a remarkable lesson on accountability and growth. Gibson and Tyrus had done more than expose inconsistencies, they had ignited a transformation, revealing the power of dialogue, courage, and the human capacity to change. Newsom walked off the set not as a broken figure, but as someone challenged to become better, stronger, more attuned to the people he served. The story rippled far beyond that studio. Social media exploded with reactions, not just about controversy, but about the raw humanity displayed on screen. Citizens debated fiercely, some critical, others inspired. Yet at the core was a universal truth: confrontation, when met with honesty and openness, can lead to profound growth. Newsom's eruption had been more than a political spectacle, it had become a mirror for us all, reflecting the courage it takes to face accountability, to admit faults, and to emerge not defeated, but renewed. By nightfall, the city buzzed with discussions about leadership, morality, and the human capacity for transformation. Newsom, exhausted but resolute, sat quietly in reflection. He realized that exposure, though painful, was the pathway to authenticity, and authenticity, though rare, was the only true form of leadership. The eruption on live television had done what few experiences could: it stripped away pretense, tested character, and, ultimately, inspired hope. As viewers turned off their screens, a silent understanding lingered: we all face moments that demand accountability. We all have eruptions of emotion, moments of vulnerability that test our resolve. But it is in those moments that we find our true selves, and perhaps, the possibility of redemption, growth, and genuine change. Gavin Newsom's journey on that fateful night was a reminder that even the most public figures are human, capable of error, yet capable also of extraordinary transformation when challenged with courage and integrity.